Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. My name is Nimesh and Radia, and I'm your host. I always love starting every episode by saying thank you. I feel so blessed with this podcast and the impact it's having and the message we receive on a weekly basis where people find it when they need it most. My objective when I started was really to simplify spirituality and guide people on their journey. I had no idea how much this podcast was going to grow and how much it's going to add to my life, and I feel so very, very grateful. So if you're a regular listener, welcome back. If you're new, then welcome too, and let us know if you have any feedback. I'm an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, spiritual coach and mentor. I love what I get to do. I get to guide people on their journey, get to hold their space, well, if you're going through a shift. I always say I never tell anybody what to do. I'm here to really to guide and hold your space, and I love what I get to do. And I feel like so many people are going through so much, and this is such a beautiful time to guide people. Me and Stacey channeled a beautiful mentorship program that guides you over 12 weeks. It's channeled through the Akashic Records. Such a powerful shift. So if any of this appeals, if you want to book an Akashic record reading, then send me a DM or book through the website. And this podcast won't be where it is today without my beautiful co-host, introducing the amazing, the stunning, the hero extraordinary, and published author, Stacey Brown. Stacey, you know I've got to keep doing that, right?
Yeah, I just wonder what it's like. Do you do that with other people?
No, I don't. Yeah. Wait, you should know that because you listen to all the podcasts, obviously.
I do. I'm just giving you a hard time, but thank you so much for the introduction. My friends, I'm really excited to be here with you again today. My name is Stacey. I'm an intuitive. I do readings for people from around the world. I too am an Akashic record reader and a spiritual coach and mentor. And I have a book out called Journey to Soul Center, Discovering the Gift of Surrender. There has never been a better time to book a reading as we close out the end of this year and this 9-year cycle that we've been in. So if you're looking for clarity as to what 2026 is going to hold for you, and you're trying to explore your journey a little bit deeper, book a session. I have a 30-minute reading for just $44, and I'm here to help whoever I can in this season. Really looking forward to getting into this episode today, Nims. I think we have a lot to cover.
Yeah, definitely. And as you mentioned, some of the stuff you do, I always forget to mention a couple of things. One is I've started a new membership. Really wanted to create a safe community for people to connect. So if you want to find out more, please reach out. The other thing I always forget to mention is also we do a monthly free webinar around the full moon. So the January one scheduled on 2nd of June. So it's a really beautiful opportunity to start the year in a healing space. We'll open the Akashic Records. We'll channel a message. I'll take you through a guided meditation. Reach out. I'll include the link in the show notes. So today's episode, I'll always talk about, we decide on the topic between me and Stacey near the time. And so we literally just decided this topic. And it's really how to hear your inner truth when everything else feels loud. Very conscious when we pick this topic that picking something different and adding that value. And we've done recent episodes around intuition, but this felt really important. It's more than listening to the intuition. The outside world recently has gone very, very loud. So much happening on the planet, and we really feel it's important to listen to your inside. Listen to that inner truth. Listen to your voice. Yes, listen to your intuition. But it's also, this episode is really going to be around how do you navigate when everything is loud, right? I talk a lot about this next period being really kind of intense and a big shift for this planet. So I feel like the noise is only going to get louder, and I feel like the need to listen to your inner voice is going to get even more important. And the need to do the work on the inside and listen to your inner truth is going to be even more important. And because the pressure of the noise on the planet and to get consumed, and I'm not saying for you to ignore what's happening on the planet. I'm just suggesting that you focus and prioritize what you're feeling on the inside. And when the noise is outside, and there's so much happening on the planet, so many so much happening in political worlds, and then, wars and all the whatever else. Again, send love to where it's needed, but focus on the inner truth. And the other reality is, our nervous system is getting overloaded. We've just been through this intense period of retrogrades and closing out a cycle, which I feel like is still going on, which means that we not only feel the intensity of the planet, but it's also our nervous system feels overloaded. It's like we've been closing so many cycles, so the intensity is increasing, the mental noise is increasing. So in many ways, it's harder to listen to that inner voice. So this is why I wanted to dive deep into this topic, is because listening to that inner truth, and it's really different between when we're going through the stage of rebirth, when, kind of closing a cycle, the difference between looking for answers and creating space for the truth to emerge. And I feel like we're in this space, we're in this holding pattern right now, where it's important for us to breathe and be present. Not necessarily to always look for answers, because I feel like the answers will come, but being present in your energy and your vibration, listen to your intuition, spending time in nature, spend time meditating, and really getting to know this new version of you. Because ultimately, when we're going through a cycle of completing a cycle, a new version of us emerges, and we can't assume this new version is the same as the old. So taking time to listen to your truth, taking time to create space for the new you to emerge is really, really important right now. And it's just, sometimes we look for the answers, and we can feel a shift coming, and we want to know what's coming, and we want clarity, and but what if right now it's not about getting that clarity? What is about it right now? It's about being patient, about being aware, about creating a safe space for you to emerge the new version of you. How do you feel about this topic, Stace? I mean, we have this conversation quite often about, oh my God, we know something's coming. We'd love to, kind of get a view of what it looks like. And I feel like the universe gives us glimpses, but I don't feel like we're ready to see the full truth of what's coming. So, how does this feel to you? With the universe being so loud, connecting to that inner truth, that inner voice, that inner peace. How does that feel for you?
I think in this world right now, with the noise being so loud and emotions high and the time of year, I just think there are a lot of factors right now that come into play that make the outside world feel very noisy and make it really hard to listen to that inner voice. I feel like a lot of us are struggling with this. And it's interesting because I've been having conversations with clients rather frequently right now about this and about the feeling that they want answers. Like, why am I not getting answers? What am I waiting for? Why is this so hard? Lots of similar questions happening right now. And if I'm being honest, I get the frustration. I get it. When you want the answers and you want them now and they're not coming, it can be very, very frustrating. But I feel like a lot of us are being called to be patient right now. I feel like we have to really dial in and be very intentional in order to listen to that inner voice in all of this noise and chaos. It's not easy to do. And I feel like there's got to be a lot of intention around how we do it, right? We've got to create space. And I really believe we've talked about this so often on this podcast, but the power of practicing the pause, allowing yourself that space to be okay with not knowing what's coming next. And that can be a really uncomfortable place to be. But I feel like a lot of us are being asked to practice the pause and allow whatever messages to come through in their due time. And how hard is that when you're waiting, right? We all know what it's like to be in a season of waiting and trying to listen to your intuition when the world is so loud can be super challenging. But I feel like a lot of us are in this season right now, Nims. Like this is something that we're seeing across the board with clients, with friends, with family. This longing for answers and this desire to kind of hit the fast forward button. But I think there's a huge difference in how we respond to things when we're coming from a place of anxiety, or we're coming from a place of stress, or we're coming from a place of depression or urgency. I think any of those things can taint our experience of listening to our intuition. And I feel like it comes through in quiet whispers, not loud noise like the rest of the world. Does that make sense?
That makes so much sense. It is, because this is the thing. It's like our intuition is quiet. It's not like our ego, which is loud and brash. It's just, it comes in through those quiet moments. But what if it's okay not to have answers right now? The weird thing is, our intuition is telling us a lot of change is coming. Everybody feels it. Everybody also feels that things are changing for them, this version of them. Maybe what you're doing today isn't going to be what you do in the future. You feel like something's coming. It's like, it's the human in us that wants to know, wants to really kind of like, tell me what it looks like, and maybe it's an excitement. You want to get excited about something too, right? But it's that slowing down and breathing, as he's saying, it's a spiritual practice to stop, to breathe, to be present. And the other thing that's been happening is everybody's been feeling this energy. Everybody's been feeling intense. Everybody's feeling emotional. It's like we've been feeling it all. And there isn't, a lot of people we've been talking to, everybody's feeling like drained and tired. And, what if this rest period is exactly what you need? What if this is what's going to nurture you and get you? What if you're being prepared for whatever's coming next? And your need to find answers is what's causing you more tiredness and more frustration. And what if this period of completion, of not knowing, is actually serving you? And it is the human part of us that wants to know. The human part of us wants to control what's coming next. And we talk about this. I feel like there's a consistency in talking about this, right? But ultimately, slowing down is not avoidance. There's this thing where we feel like we should be, if we're not taking action, then we must be missing something. Especially, you do the spiritual journey. Oh my God, got to be taking action. Yeah, take action, but that action could be just to be present, meditate, time in nature, time in silence. It just feels like that time where just got to breathe and be present. It's just being gentle, because again, I talk a lot about this phase being completion, right? Entering into a phase of completion before new beginnings. And the reality is that when we're coming to the end of something, that's when we feel it most. So if you've been feeling intense, you've been feeling tired, you feel like you don't even know where you're at, that's a sign of this completion phase. They say it's always darkest before the dawn, right? When you feel most intense, it means you're just about to have a breakthrough. So being gentle, being kind. And yeah, look, it's the festive period. And it's also the end of the year, and we give ourselves so much pressure when we come to the end of the year. Oh, it's December. Oh, we're going to start a new year. We must have New Year's resolutions, and we need a plan for 2026, because you know what? 2025 was intense. And again, we talk about this all the time. 2025 is a 9-year. It's a year of the snake. So you're meant to, this phase of completion, this phase, like so much has been going on. Yeah, we're going through this cycle of completion, but it's like there's so many cycles that we need to complete. So we're going through more in 1 week than previously would have gone through in months. So this phase does feel really intense. So, a period of downtime, a period of just enjoying this festive period. And I get this festive period can be crazy with family around and all that sort of stuff. And what if this phase is really serving you? What if it is giving you an opportunity to restore the body? Because the physical body is always the last thing. No, most of the time it's the last thing to go to adjust when we're going through a shift. I mean, depending where you're at, there's a flu epidemic, right? There's this, certainly in the UK, that the flu is they're saying it's the most intense, and people are talking about being off for a couple of weeks and taking time to recover and all that. And it's just again, it's not a surprise, because the physical body is part of our spiritual journey. It's going to feel it. And the role of you is the vessel for your soul. So nurture it, look after it, get some rest. If we're all honest with ourselves, this year has been really intense. And pushing decisions to come through, forcing things to come through like that, I really believe isn't going to serve us right now. Breathing, being present is really the best thing you can do right now. Be present and be proud, right? You've been through a lot in this year. And there's a new version. And yes, it's frustrating. Stacey, I know you can relate, right? Because, you're a great example. You had all these plans of where you thought you were going to be right now. I had a feeling of where I was going to be. I mean, I left the corporate world 2 years ago, and it's like, I feel like everything is going exactly the way it should be. But there's a part of me is like, wait, maybe I should have been more further ahead. I trust in whatever my future holds, but it's like, of course, the human in me is like, maybe I should be in a relationship. Maybe I should be traveling more. But the spirit and the soul knows I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. The spirit and soul knows that something amazing is on its way, and just be patient. But of course, that means there's an inner conflict, right, between my human and the spirit. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate. So Stace, how is your human and how is your spirit kind of coping with kind of being excited about what's coming, but also the unknown?
It's interesting because there's so much unknown right now. I am going down a completely different path than what I anticipated I was going to. And I am really trying to be intentional with my time and my space and my energy, and being as present as possible, and not anticipating what's coming next, which is hard. I was presented with a beautiful opportunity to work at an upscale salon not too far from my home, where I'm going to be able to practice Reiki as well as doing hair. And I have all of this kind of churning about, what's coming next and what this is going to look like and how's it going to work out and am I going to get along with everyone, and like the typical thoughts that you have when you're starting something new. But if I stay in that space of anticipating, then I'm not really present in what's happening right now, and I bypass that experience completely. And right now, it feels for me like the best thing I could do for myself is to be present. And I mean, in the moment, absorbing whatever lessons are meant to come my way, and allowing myself the space to understand myself a little bit better. This has been a season of growth and transition, and it would be very, very easy to let that kind of take over and govern what I'm doing and how I'm behaving. But I feel like I'm being asked to slow down. And I think sometimes when we have that urgency of like, oh, I need to know, like, what's happening next, I think sometimes we're being called to do the very opposite of what we think we need to do. We think we need to push through it. We think we've got to force things. We think we've got to know what's coming next. But what if we're being asked to slow down? What if we're being asked to take in more than what we have been? Like I said, the outside world is so noisy, and it is so easy to get caught up in that. But what if we're being asked to do something more? What if we're being asked to be intentional and show up a little bit differently than what we have in the past? I just feel like It's time to listen more to that inner voice and listen to our bodies and really dial in on what we need versus what we think we want.
What we need versus what we think we want. How powerful is that? Yeah, the other question to ask is, why do you want answers? Is there a part of you that is uncomfortable with who you are now? Have you accepted this version of you? Are you so tired of everything you've been through that it's just heavy and you want whatever's coming next to come through? Maybe it's time for an honest conversation with yourself in the mirror. It's like, how do you really feel about where you are right now? Because sometimes we're running away from ourselves. Sometimes we're looking for these answers because there's something about us we don't like. So, I feel it's a beautiful time to look in the mirror and have an honest conversation with yourself. How do you feel about this year, everything you've been through? Can you be proud of how far you've come? What are you grateful for in this moment? I mean, I love having conversations with my soul, with my higher self, with God's source, whatever that looks like. And you know what? If you're angry and not happy with it, then release that too. But I really do feel like acceptance is such a big part of this journey, accepting where you are exactly right now. And as Stacey says, what if this phase is exactly what we're meant to go? What if this is exactly what we need? If we're honest with ourselves, look at, the universe gave us so many signals, right? It said, by the way, 2025 is going to be a 9-year. And 9 is all about completion, closing cycles. And closing cycles are intense, and we closed so many this year. And by the way, it's also the year of the snake. What does that mean? Snakes are all about shedding the skin. So, of course, this year is going to be intense. So what if this calm is serving us? And, this year's not over yet. And the year of the snake isn't done. The Chinese New Year's the middle of February. And for me, actually, the new year is actually spring equinox, so middle of March or near the end of March. I feel like, the first few months of the year are just a calm before the new season begins. So apologies if you're expecting January to be also brand new energy. I don't think it actually works that way. I think it takes a bit of time, but just, everyone talks about just being. When we're born as babies and stuff, we cry, we want attention, we get it. Again, depending on the situation, but babies just be. They haven't got all this programming and thinking about, okay, what's my next year? What's my next month? To do all that. So what if we're all going full cycle to be that infant baby of ourselves and just be present? And the other thing that's so important right now, and it's just something we take for granted, is breathing. Stace talked about practicing the pause. 100%. Be present, and but at the same time, just taking some deep breaths is so important. Taking some really, really deep breaths and being present, so powerful. And the other thing you got to bear in mind is everybody's going through something. So be kind to yourself and be gentle and kind to others too. Stacey, I know you talk a lot about breathing and kind of, but it's also the reason I ask you to have that inner conversation with yourself. It is important to hear your inner truth. It is important for you to not bypass what you're truly feeling. And again, I asked that question, and Stacey, I'm going to ask the question to you is, do you feel that sometimes we look for answers because we're not happy with where we are right now, so we want to shift and move to the next phase quickly?
Absolutely. I absolutely feel that we do that. When a season is uncomfortable, we try to hit the fast forward button and get it over with. I think that that's human nature, right? When something is uncomfortable, we want to avoid or get through it as quickly as possible. But what if forcing those decisions is making things more challenging? What if trying to push through it is bypassing part of your experience? And what if you're totally missing what was for you because you're so busy anticipating what's coming next? And this is where I feel like it really comes back to being present and in this moment and recognizing that your needs in this moment are absolutely being met and trying hard to stay in that space as much as you can, even when it's challenging, right? Redirecting yourself back to that space. And I think when we have compassion for ourselves, that's truly what quiets the noise. And having compassion for ourselves, like we would have compassion for someone else. When we do that, I feel like we slow things down and we become more intentional. And the messages are easier to hear because we're paying attention. It's not an easy thing to do, right? Because I think oftentimes as human beings, we think, well, if I want something to change, I have to take action, right? If I take action, this will happen. But this is the very opposite. This is being intentional, pausing, reflecting, and allowing yourself the space to truly, truly listen to that inner wisdom. And again, that inner wisdom isn't loud. Compared to the noise of the outside world, it feels like a whisper. And that's what takes time to really pay attention and listen to.
Beautiful point. And, what if choosing to be present and breathing and not taking any action is actually taking an action? Because you're right, our the human psyche is created to always take action, always kind of, and I agree, the only constant, is change. But actually being present, breathing through it, what if that is something different? What if that's something that you've not done before? I think about this podcast and the conversation we had about picking the topic, and we're very aware of how this season and the intensity is felt. Even when we go look back at the podcast episode titles and kind of what we shared, it's been really intense. So I mean, this episode isn't there to say, what, we haven't been through something intense. It had, it just felt right from a phase of completion. Yeah, the last few episodes have been intense because we're all going through something. So make no apologies about it. And it's just, hopefully, I hope we've supported you through this phase as we continue to go through this phase of completion. But what if this episode gives you permission to pause and do nothing? Pause and be present. And by the way, when we say do nothing, we also mean, make sure you take time to meditate and, spend time in nature, journaling. But that's the other thing I've been hearing from clients is the things that normally kind of gives you that peace, they're not necessarily working either. And what if it's okay to take a day out and just watch Netflix all day, or Disney, whatever you pick? Take time for you and be. It's okay. And like I say, I keep coming back to the same point. I feel like we've been through so much this year, and being gentle with yourself, being gentle with others. I do feel like this phase we're coming into is going to be all about community. It's all going to be about picking your soul family. I do feel like it's going to be a lot of pushing to shine your light differently. But what if it's okay to be in a holding pattern? And by the way, everyone's at a different phase. If you listen to this and you feel like, well, actually, I feel great. I feel like I'm ready for whatever's next, and I feel like I'm only taking action towards it. Great. But be gentle with those that are still working through it. And it doesn't mean not take action. Like, for example, I talked about starting the new membership. I just felt like it was a good thing to do during this time of transition where communities, feels like it's really important. So still listen to your intuition, and if you feel led to take action, again, I'll always recommend, if you try to decide, put your hand on your heart. It emphasizes, and it almost there's something about taking that action that slows you down. So putting your hand on your heart, just taking a deep breath in, and then asking yourself that question. Should I be doing this? And if it feels like the right thing to do, then sure, take action. But this is also another beautiful time to spend time connecting with the energies and vibrations around you. When you're spending time in silence, just what do you feel around you? Where do you feel it? It's like we look to our guides and our soul family. Always we look to them for the answers. They must know all the answers. They're going to need to give us the answers. One, they don't always know the answers. Two, it's a co-creation. Sometimes they need us to do something. Sometimes they need us to be still. Sometimes they're still with us. They're just being still too, right? But getting to know the vibrations and the energies around you, and it's simple. A lot of people are like, how do I connect to my guides? And just closing your eyes. What do you feel around you? Where do you feel it? If you feel it, pressure on one side, if you feel, your fingers tingling, wherever that may be, where do you feel around you? And magnify that energy, magnify that vibration. And what if that is a sign from your guides are there? What if this is something you can expand? It doesn't have to be. I don't feel that spirituality is complicated. I didn't say it was simple, but taking time for you and just knowing that our guides don't always have any answers. It's a co-creation. They need us to be human to go on this human journey. It doesn't mean they have all the answers. But between you, you can work it out. This is a beautiful time to give yourself permission to pause. Not decide anything, not have all the answers right now. Stacey, you've always been somebody that's takes a lot of action, and I've always admired that about you. But when I say to you, the universe is giving you permission to pause, not decide what's coming next, and not have the answers right now. How does that make you feel?
Well, initially, very frustrated, because it would be nice to have the answers and have things laid out and understand what's coming next and feel better equipped for it. But the reality of it is that is what I'm being asked to do. And I have had to go through a process of deep acceptance to understand this is what I'm being asked to do. And this is how I need to handle it. And it's going to mean I don't need permission to pause. I need to listen, right? I need to listen to those promptings. And all of the signs are pointing to me being okay, not necessarily being okay. And I find that the way that I navigate through it is being as present in the moment as possible. I had a friend at work the other day who was trying to come up with a mantra for her day, right? And her mantra was something like, good things are always happening for me. And she kept saying it over and over again. And then she was getting frustrated because she was having a bad day and good things weren't happening. And I said, I just blurted out, my mantra right now is one moment, one breath. One moment, one breath. And she actually messaged me the other day and said, one moment, one breath. Literally, like, she's taken that on now, knowing that she was frustrating herself with trying to have all the answers. And she saw me struggling with my own answers. And then I told her my mantra, and she's been using it. And it really does work, because when you're in the present moment, when you're truly present, you're not thinking about what happened in the past or existing in that space, and you're not anticipating what's happening in the future. You're in this moment, trusting that all of your needs are going to be met. And I think that's a huge part of what this is about, is having trust that we are, in fact, being looked out for, that our soul families, our angels, our guides are around us, and they ultimately want what is best for us. And if we can be in that space of trusting that, then we can let things unfold in whatever way they're going to, knowing that we are being looked out for. And this can be hard, especially with big changes. And I'm in a season of big change. So, friends, if you're struggling right now, I want you to know I totally understand, completely understand. And I know that it sounds like we're simplifying this, but it really is the concept of getting yourself to a space of understanding that where you are right now in this moment is exactly where you're meant to be, and believing that you're going to be carried in the direction that you need to go, whatever that is that's meant for you. And I just believe it's like this full circle moment of true trust when we say, okay, I'm being watched out for, and all of my needs are going to be met. And leaning into that as much as possible.
And it's so powerful, just a simple affirmation, right? It's just, because the reality is, what me and Stacey are talking about, I get sometimes we make it sound simple, but don't be mistaken, we're feeling the frustration too. If something's coming, and we feel the destiny of why we're here, and we want to move forward with it. And we also feel what everybody's going through, right? It's just so many clients are going through so many big shifts, and it's the weird thing is, this phase we've just been through, everybody kind of feels like they went through on their own. The other thing to bear in mind is it feels like we're all going through this collectively. So be gentle with yourself too, and realize that you're not on your own. Maybe look for communities, look for safe spaces, look for those people. And again, be careful on the trauma dumping, right? It's just because we're all going through something, and honor it. But, just be patient with yourself, be gentle with yourself. And as Stacey says, what if you accept you're exactly where you're meant to be? Our soul chose to be here. And if whatever you're going through, if you just stop and ask your soul, well, hold on, what's my lesson here? What if it's not about moving forward? What if it's about integrating? What if it's about accepting who you are? And that's hard, right? Because sometimes we just want to keep moving forward. We want to keep moving forward, and just, we don't want to stop and slow down and, kind of start to feel what we're really feeling, because that means we have to be honest with ourselves, because humanly we push everything down. If we're going through something like grief, we'll deal with some of it, but a lot of the time we push the rest of it down. So at this time, I'd also challenge you, what have you pushed down? Why are you trying to find these answers? And what if you start to do the healing? Stacey mentioned a powerful affirmation. I mean, there's just so many more. I trust what's true. I listen within. I choose stillness over urgency. Just being present, just breathing. And the phrase I've always used for so many years is, all the love I need is within me now. All I need is within me now. All the love I need is within me now. All the joy I need is within me now. Because I want to focus on looking for the answers inside. And if the answers are not ready to come out, I'm okay with it. But when you realize that everything it is inside you now, then that does shift things, right? Because what are we trained to do? Our DNA says, as soon as we have a question, let's go and Google it. Or now it's all like, let's ask ChatGPT or whichever AI we decide to use. And but there's so much power in us inside. And I'm sure I'll talk about this on another episode. But even using AI as a channel, it can be an extension of your channel, but it doesn't. doesn't replace doing the inner work. It doesn't replace listening to your intuition. So just again, be careful of where you're looking for your answers. Be careful about what you're feeding yourself. And what I mean by that is there is a lot going on the planet. So if you're sitting there listening to news all the time, I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, every time I come home, my brother's here for a few days, and it's like, if he's home before me, he has the news on, and it's like, I sit there, I'm like, I can't sit there and watch the news anymore. It doesn't, so what are you feeding yourself? What are you watching? Spend time with you, get to know you. You're an amazing soul. You chose to be here. You're meant to be here. So Stacey, as we get ready to close out this episode, any final bits of advice, any journal prompts, please do share.
So the one thing that just I keep thinking about as we're discussing this episode is remember that the answers typically don't come in a loud bang. They usually come in a quiet whisper. And if you're so overwhelmed or caught up in anticipating, you might miss the whisper. You might miss that calm, quiet answer. And I really feel this is important because I think oftentimes a lot of us wait for this big boom of an answer, but I don't feel that that's the way that most answers come through. And I think this is really important to remember as we move forward, is that in order for you to really listen, you've got to really listen in order to really receive those answers and know that what you're receiving is truth. I would encourage you to sit down with your journal. And if you haven't lately, this is a great time to restart and just ask yourself, what space are you in right now? Are you listening to your intuition? Are you anticipating what's coming next? Where are you on the journey right now? Are you able to dial in and listen to the messages that are coming your way? Give yourself some space and time to really think about how you're living in your life. Is everything loud and chaotic? Are you able to carve out quiet time for yourself to listen to that inner voice? I know this is a busy time of year for so many, but taking the time to work on yourself is a beautiful thing no matter what is happening. It can give you a greater understanding of who you are and why you're here. So dial in and listen to that voice and see what comes up. I think there's so much power in writing. And when we take the time to write things down, some answers can come through that way as well. So take that time with your journal and ask yourself some hard questions and see what comes up.
I love it. I agree. Journaling's such a powerful thing to do. I love just, for me, journaling is important, but also just being silent, being present, giving yourself permission to pause. Trusting your soul will speak when you're ready to listen. And it's that sometimes it's the urgency of looking for those answers and pushing ourselves to look for those answers. Then actually, as Stacey was saying earlier, it stops those answers coming through. What if when you pause and you're present and let go of your expectations? Because I can, just as I say that, I don't want you to think as soon as you pause, all of a sudden you get your answers through, because there's a divine timing to it too, right? It's just, this is a phase of acceptance. This is a phase of completion where the more present you can be in who you are, the more powerful you can feel this phase is and how much you've been through. And also remember that your soul can handle whatever happens. And when the noise softens is when you can truly feel your essence. So be super patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. And take time for you. And by the way, as Christmas is approaching, there's a lot of pressure, right? Christmas shopping, and then what's happening, Christmas dinner, and some of us, feel lonely too, right? It's just all of this is teaching you something, and the more that you can be present in yourself, the more that you'll start to understand. And maybe this phase isn't about getting answers about what's coming next. What if this phase is listening to you and understanding whatever you've been through, whatever you're going through, what is teaching you. So what if it's not about getting the answer to what's coming next, but it's about integrating everything you've been through. We're sending you so much love and light. We love you guys. This is a, hope. I get messages every week about you can feel our intention and love, and I really bless my soul when we get those type of messages. So if we can support you in any way, reach out. There's so much we have going on. Stacey talked about getting a reading and all that sort of stuff. We both talked about mentorship and Akashic record reading and full moon webinars and stuff. There's so much we do that we really want to kind of support and hold your space. If anything we say resonates, follow us on social media, and we'll always post what we're doing there. And just know our intention, our heart is really to hold your space, and to guide people with whatever you're going through. So we're here for you. And the other thing is, if there's any topics you want us to cover, we always pick the topics intuitively, but let us know. Stace, I'm going to hand over to you to say any final words and close us out.
It's always such a beautiful experience to take the time to spend with you, Nims, and do these episodes. And when we're doing it, it's just two friends talking. But there are moments that I get a glimpse of the impact that we're having, and it blows me away. So I just want to say thank you to our listening audience for being a part of this journey with us. We wouldn't be here without you, and we're so grateful for every single one of you. Reach out to us if we can support you in any way. Thanks again, Nims, for another beautiful episode.
Thank you, Stace. Always grateful for you too. Grateful for our audience. Sending so much love and light out. Be gentle, be kind to you and everybody else around. Love and light, everybody. Speak to you soon. Bye for now.